Ethan had always liked the quiet hum of the colony station. Orbiting the pale green planet of Loria 9, the station was a modest collection of modules and observation decks, a place where humans could work and live far from the crowded cities of Earth. For Ethan, it was peaceful. He spent his days maintaining drones, calibrating systems, and making sure every module ran smoothly. Most of the time, he enjoyed the solitude, tinkering with gadgets or reading old novels saved on the station's archive. But life was about to change. The announcement came on a routine morning. A new housemate had been assigned to Ethan. He frowned at the message. Roommates were rare on the station, and Ethan had grown comfortable with his space. Still, he followed the instructions and made his way to the docking module. When he opened the small airlock, he froze for a moment. Standing there was someone or something he had never seen before. She was humanoid, with a delicate frame and luminous patterns running across her skin, softly pulsing with faint blues and greens. Her hair shimmered in subtle shades of silver, and her eyes glowed like polished amber. She smiled, revealing no teeth, only a serene expression that somehow made him feel at ease. "Hello," she said in a soft, melodic voice. It carried a rhythm and harmony that Ethan didn't recognize, yet he understood her perfectly. "I am Lyra. I will be living with you." Ethan hesitated, then shook himself out of his surprise. "I'm Ethan. Welcome to the station, I guess." He extended a hand awkwardly. Lyra tilted her head and mirrored the gesture. Though her hand was cooler to the touch than any human's, she stepped inside, her movements fluid and almost floating. Ethan led her to the small living quarters he shared with her now. The room was modest: 2 beds, a small workbench, and a corner for personal belongings. Lyra's eyes scanned everything, absorbing details with quick, precise movements. "I will adapt," she said. "I wish to understand your ways." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Well, I'm not sure you want to know all of my ways. I mostly fix broken things and talk to drones." Lyra's eyes glowed slightly brighter, almost like a laugh. "Curiosity is innate. I am ready." For the first few days, life with Lyra was different. Ethan discovered that she had unusual habits. She would spend hours standing near the observation window, silently watching the stars, her patterns flickering in rhythm with her thoughts. She ate little and always carefully examined food before tasting it. Sometimes, she would hum quietly, a vibration that resonated softly through the floor, almost like music without melody. At first, Ethan found it frustrating. She rearranged the workshop in ways he didn't understand, moving tools according to some alien logic he could not follow. She insisted on cleaning surfaces with strange sprays and wiping in patterns that made no sense to him. "Lyra, why are you moving my tools again?" he asked one morning. "To optimize your workflow," she replied. "Efficiency is necessary for survival." Ethan shook his head. "I survive fine the way I do." Lyra simply tilted her head. "Humans are limited in ways they do not recognize. I will assist." Despite the irritation, Ethan began to notice subtle improvements. Tasks that had once taken him hours could now be completed in half the time, thanks to her adjustments and suggestions. Her alien perspective, while strange, was effective. Gradually, Ethan began to respect her. He noticed her patience, her precise attention to detail, and the way she seemed to sense problems before they happened. And he realized that, though she was alien, she had a curiosity and adaptability that mirrored his own. One evening, as Ethan worked on a drone's navigation system, Lyra approached and observed quietly. "You are careful," she noted. "But you rely too much on what is known. You fear the unknown." "I call it caution," Ethan replied. "I like to keep things under control." Lyra's luminous patterns flickered thoughtfully. "Control is an illusion. Adaptation is power. You will learn." Before Ethan could respond, the station's alarms rang sharply, echoing through every module. Red lights flashed, and a voice boomed over the speakers. "Warning. Unidentified fleet detected, approaching the sector. All personnel, prepare for possible evacuation." Ethan froze, His hands hovered over the console as he tried to comprehend the message. He had lived his whole life in relative safety. The station had never faced a direct threat before. Lyra's gaze was calm, almost serene. "They are coming," she said. "We must prepare." Ethan's heart raced. "Prepare? How? There's nothing we can do. This station is too small. And we don't have weapons." Lyra's glowing patterns brightened as she stepped closer. "Weapons are not the only way to survive. Strategy and cooperation will suffice." "Will you work with me?" Ethan hesitated. He was not sure he wanted to rely on an alien for his survival. Yet something in Lyra's presence, her calm confidence, made him nod. "Yes. Okay. We work together." The next few hours were a whirlwind. Ethan and Lyra checked systems, reinforced bulkheads, and analyzed the approaching fleet. Lyra guided Ethan to reroute energy from non-essential systems to the station's shields. She taught him how to read the subtle fluctuations in the fleet's energy signature, predicting their movements and preparing countermeasures. It was exhausting. But Ethan was amazed at how quickly he and Lyra adapted to one another. Each suggestion she made built on his knowledge, and each action he took complemented her alien abilities. Together, they formed a team that neither could have achieved alone. During a brief pause, Ethan looked at her. She was standing by the observation window, watching the approaching ships with a calm he could not share. "Lyra," he said, his voice quiet. "How can you be so calm? We might not survive this." She turned to him, her patterns pulsing gently. "Calm is understanding. Fear arises from the unknown. We know what we must do. That is enough." Ethan swallowed. There was something inspiring in her words. She was alien, yet she had a clarity he admired. Somehow, he felt braver just by standing next to her. Hours passed. The fleet approached, their massive forms glinting under the distant sun. Ethan and Lyra worked in tandem, rerouting power, sealing airlocks, and preparing emergency escape plans. Every challenge they faced brought them closer. Ethan began to see Lyra not just as a housemate, but as a partner he could rely on in ways he had never imagined. Finally, as the first of the enemy ships came within range, Ethan looked at her. "Lyra, whatever happens, I'm glad you're here." She gave him a small, almost imperceptible smile. "As am I, Ethan. Together, we are stronger than the sum of our parts." The station shuddered as the distant fleet activated energy fields. Ethan felt fear. Yes, but also a strange sense of anticipation. For the first time, he realized that survival would not depend on weapons or numbers alone. It would depend on human creativity, alien insight, and the bond they were beginning to form. And in that moment, orbiting the quiet green planet, Ethan knew that life, as he had known it, was ending. Something new was beginning. Something dangerous, uncertain, and full of potential. He didn't know what would happen next, but with Lyra at his side, he felt ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. And perhaps, he thought with a small, nervous smile, he might even enjoy the adventure. The station shook again as the first wave of the enemy fleet edged closer. Ethan's hands flew over the control panel, adjusting shields, rerouting power, and monitoring the sensors. Lyra stood beside him, her glowing patterns flickering with subtle signals that he could not fully interpret. Yet somehow, her presence made him calmer. "They will test the outer defenses first," she said quietly. "We must predict their approach and act before they reach us." Ethan nodded. He trusted her judgment, though it still amazed him how quickly she could read the enemy's movements. He had always thought survival depended on numbers, weapons, or strict plans, but Lyra's insight proved that sometimes understanding and clever adaptation mattered more. Minutes later, small ships darted toward the station, like swarms of metallic insects. The alarms rang, and the lights flickered under the sudden strain on the shields. Ethan activated the drones he had prepared in advance. They flew out in formation, acting as obstacles and decoys to confuse the attackers. Lyra's patterns pulsed faster. "Enhance the shield frequency." Minor adjustments will redirect the energy blasts. They will waste resources on the drones rather than the station itself. Ethan followed her instructions. He had never imagined the shields could be manipulated like this. With each adjustment, the drones gained time, forcing the attackers to expend energy and misjudge the station's defenses. The first wave faltered, and the small ships retreated slightly, giving the station a brief moment of relief. "That worked," Ethan said, breathless. "I didn't think the shields could handle that." Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, a sign Ethan had learned indicated satisfaction. Efficiency comes from understanding patterns. Humans are unpredictable, yet resourceful. Your creativity complements my analysis. Ethan felt a rush of pride. He had always known humans were clever. But hearing it acknowledged by an alien, especially one as advanced as Lyra, felt different. It gave him confidence. The kind that strengthened his resolve. They worked through the next hours with synchronized precision. Ethan managed the station's mechanical systems, repairing damage from minor impacts and rerouting power to critical areas. Lyra focused on analyzing enemy behavior, predicting their movements, and guiding Ethan's actions. Together, they formed a rhythm, human intuition, and alien logic combined to protect the station. During a brief lull, Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. This is nothing like I expected. I thought I'd just be repairing drones and working quietly. Now," he trailed off, looking at Lyra. "Now you are learning," she finished for him. "War is not just destruction. It is adaptation, strategy, and understanding the unknown. You excel at adaptation. I excel at analysis. Together, we increase our odds of survival." Ethan smiled. "I guess I'm glad you're here after all." Lyra's luminous patterns flickered softly, almost like a laugh. "As am I. Cooperation is stronger than isolation." The next wave of attackers approached, larger and more coordinated than the first. Ethan's heart pounded as he activated additional drones, while Lyra guided him through a complex sequence of shield adjustments and power diversions. Each decision had to be made in seconds, and mistakes could be fatal. Suddenly, one of the enemy ships broke through the outer defenses and headed straight for a module containing life support systems. Ethan shouted as he activated an emergency override, redirecting energy to strengthen the shields around the module. The ship fired a concentrated energy beam, and the shield glowed brightly under the strain. "Hold it," Lyra instructed. "Now, divert power to the auxiliary shields. Not too much balance is key." Ethan followed her instructions with trembling hands. The shields absorbed the attack, and the enemy ship veered away, damaged but not destroyed. Ethan let out a long breath. "That was close," he said. "Too close." Lyra turned to him, her gaze steady. "Close is temporary. Preparedness is permanent. You performed well." Ethan felt a strange warmth inside. He had survived because of his skill, his quick thinking, and Lyra. Without her guidance, the station would have suffered critical damage. He realized, with a growing sense of respect, that she was not just an observer or a companion. She was an equal partner in survival. Hours passed. Ethan and Lyra worked without pause, repairing, rerouting, and defending. The station creaked and groaned under the strain of constant attacks. But their teamwork held. Ethan began to notice subtle changes in himself. He was thinking faster, improvising more, and trusting his instincts in ways he hadn't before. Lyra had taught him to combine logic with intuition, and he could feel the difference. During a quiet moment, as they monitored the approaching fleet, Lyra spoke softly. "Ethan, you display qualities many humans underestimate. Creativity, courage, and persistence. These are strengths that can change the outcome of war." Ethan looked at her, surprised by her words. "You really think humans can make a difference against a fleet like this?" Lyra's glow brightened. "Yes. You adapt, you improvise, and you never give up. That is what makes humans remarkable." Many species rely on power alone. Humans rely on ingenuity. That is why we survive. Ethan felt a surge of pride and determination. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a simple engineer on a small station. Yet now he understood that even ordinary humans could achieve extraordinary things under pressure. And he was not alone. Lyra was with him, lending knowledge, guidance, and support that complemented his own skills. The enemy fleet grew closer, larger ships now appearing on the sensors. Ethan and Lyra prepared for another wave of attacks. Ethan's hands moved with steady confidence, adjusting drones and shields, anticipating threats before they arrived. Lyra guided him with precise instructions, her analysis allowing him to act faster than he ever could alone. As the fleet unleashed their assault, Ethan felt the thrill of strategy, the satisfaction of problem-solving under pressure, and the exhilaration of survival. Each successful defense strengthened his resolve. Each new challenge deepened the bond between him and Lyra. At one point, a massive energy pulse struck the station, causing a section of the outer hull to buckle. Ethan and Lyra acted instantly. Ethan directed drones to reinforce structural points, while Lyra manipulated energy fields in ways he had never imagined, stabilizing the damage. Together, they prevented catastrophic failure. After the pulse, they stood in silence for a moment, catching their breath. Ethan looked at Lyra. Her luminous patterns dimmed slightly from exertion, yet her posture remained calm and composed. "You're amazing," he said. "I don't think I could have done any of this without you." Lyra's glow flickered, a sign of acknowledgement and warmth. "You would have survived. Humans are resilient. But together, we achieve more." That is the strength of cooperation. The station's alarms continued to blare, but Ethan felt a new sense of confidence. He had learned to trust himself, to trust Lyra, and to trust their combined abilities. The Galactic War was no longer an abstract threat. It was a challenge they could meet with intelligence, creativity, and teamwork. As the day turned to night, and the station drifted silently among the stars, Ethan and Lyra found a brief moment of peace. They shared a simple meal, prepared with makeshift tools and limited supplies, yet even this became a bonding experience. Ethan explained human culinary habits, while Lyra shared her own alien traditions. They laughed at small mistakes, marveled at small successes, and for a moment, the war seemed distant, but the approaching fleet was never far from their minds. Each passing hour brought new challenges, new tests of skill, and new opportunities to grow stronger together. Ethan realized that survival was not just about defending the station. It was about adapting, learning, and evolving alongside someone who challenged him to be better. Lyra watched him with quiet curiosity. "You have potential," she said. "The fleet underestimates you because they see only humans. They do not see what humans can achieve when they adapt, when they trust, and when they cooperate. That is why we survive." Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Then let's make sure they never forget it." As the stars stretched endlessly outside the observation window, Ethan and Lyra prepared for the next wave. The Galactic War had reached their doorstep, and the station would not survive by chance. It would survive because humans could think, adapt, and create, and because sometimes, the best survival strategy was not power or numbers, but trust, teamwork, and courage. Ethan glanced at Lyra, her patterns glowing softly in the dim light. He realized that, in this vast universe full of unknowns, he had found someone who could challenge him, guide him, and even inspire him. And he felt a flicker of excitement for the challenges to come, knowing that whatever happened, they would face it together. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that this was only the beginning. The Galactic War was far from over, and the lessons of today would shape their actions tomorrow. But for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt ready to meet the unknown, not alone, but with an ally, a partner, and perhaps something even more than a friend. The small escape ship hummed quietly as it slid out of the station's docking bay. Ethan sat at the controls, fingers flying over switches and displays, while Lyra hovered nearby, her luminous patterns pulsing with a soft rhythm. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, A galaxy of possibilities, but danger followed them closely. The enemy fleet was still in pursuit, their massive forms detected on the sensors. Ethan glanced at Lyra. We can't outrun them forever. We need a plan. Lyra's amber eyes glowed thoughtfully. Speed alone will not save us. We must use the environment to our advantage. There are asteroid fields ahead, and abandoned colonies we can use for cover. Ethan nodded. Then let's do it. Show me what you see. They maneuvered the ship carefully, weaving through a cluster of asteroids. Ethan relied on his human instincts for timing and trajectory, while Lyra's alien perception allowed them to detect the smallest shifts in gravitational pull and energy waves. Their combined skills turned a simple escape into a dance of precision and strategy. As they passed a massive asteroid, Lyra pointed to a faint energy signature on the sensors. A derelict colony is nearby. We can use it as a temporary hideout. The fleet may underestimate it. Assuming it is abandoned, Ethan adjusted the controls. Good thinking. Let's hope they don't scan it too thoroughly. The ship slipped silently into the colony's shadows. Rusted structures and broken satellites created natural cover. Ethan marveled at how Lyra's intuition complemented his experience. Alone, he might have chosen the wrong path, but together, they moved with efficiency and confidence. Inside the colony, they found a control center still partially functional. Ethan quickly rerouted power to restore basic systems, while Lyra scanned the area for any signs of life or danger. You are surprisingly resourceful, Lyra said. Humans often rely on luck or force, but you create solutions with the materials available. That is remarkable. Ethan smiled, a little embarrassed. I just try to think ahead. And I guess having you here helps a lot. Lyra's glow brightened subtly, a signal Ethan had learned indicated satisfaction. Cooperation improves outcomes. You adapt quickly when guided, and I learn from your ingenuity. Together, we are stronger. They spent several hours in the colony, repairing systems and planning their next move. The fleet remained in pursuit, but the abandoned structures and asteroid fields allowed them to stay hidden. Each maneuver, Ethan suggested, each calculation Lyra refined, brought them closer to safety. As they rested briefly, Ethan asked, Lyra, do you ever get scared? About what we're facing? Lyra considered this. Fear is unnecessary if one understands the situation and prepares. Emotion can cloud judgment. Yet, I feel a form of anticipation. It is unfamiliar but motivating. You call it courage. Ethan nodded. Yeah, I know that feeling. It keeps me moving forward, even when everything seems impossible. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. The fleet had detected a minor power signature from the colony. Ethan's heart raced as he realized they might be discovered. Lyra's patterns flared. We must act quickly. There is a narrow passage through the asteroid belt ahead. If we navigate it correctly, we can create distance and evade pursuit. Ethan adjusted the controls, hands moving with precision. I trust you. Lead the way. As they entered the passage, the asteroid seemed to close in, massive rocks twisting and tumbling through space. Ethan's heart pounded, but Lyra's calm presence gave him confidence. Her guidance allowed him to anticipate hazards before they appeared, making split-second adjustments that kept the ship safe. During the tense maneuvering, Ethan realized something important. He was relying not just on Lyra's abilities, but on their teamwork, their combined problem-solving and mutual trust. Alone, each of them would struggle, but together, they were nearly unstoppable. Hours passed in this manner, and the fleet's pursuit began to falter. Lyra suggested a risky maneuver, using a nearby nebula to hide their energy signature. Ethan hesitated. Nebulas can damage the ship. It's dangerous. Lyra's glow pulsed steadily. Risk must be weighed against reward. If executed correctly, the nebula will cloak us and disable the fleet's tracking for a period long enough to reach safety. You are capable. I will guide you. Ethan took a deep breath. All right, let's do it. They entered the nebula cautiously. Thick clouds of ionized gas swirled around the ship, interfering with sensors and navigation systems. Ethan relied on Lyra's precise calculations to maintain the correct trajectory, while she adjusted energy fields around the ship to protect the hull. The passage was perilous, each misstep potentially fatal. But their coordination proved flawless. After tense minutes, they emerged on the other side. The fleet's pursuit disrupted by the nebula's interference. Ethan exhaled, leaning back in his seat. "We made it." Lyra's patterns glowed softly. "Indeed. Your actions were precise, and your trust allowed the plan to succeed. You are learning quickly." Ethan laughed, a mixture of relief and exhilaration. Learning from the best, as they traveled through the next sector of space, they encountered abandoned outposts and derelict ships, each providing opportunities to rest, gather supplies, and plan their next move. Ethan continued to marvel at Lyra's alien insight and the way it merged with his human ingenuity. Together, they solved problems that would have seemed impossible alone. One evening, as they floated in a quiet stretch of space, Ethan looked at Lyra. "You know, I never thought I'd end up relying on an alien to survive, but I'm glad it's you." Lyra's glow flickered warmly. "And I am glad it is you, Ethan. You demonstrate courage, creativity, and persistence. You inspire me in ways I did not anticipate. I value your presence." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. This bond, forged under pressure and danger, was becoming something more than mere teamwork. It was trust, respect, and perhaps the beginning of something deeper. Their journey continued. Each challenge strengthened their cooperation and honed their skills. They navigated asteroid fields, avoided enemy patrols, and used abandoned colonies as temporary shelters. With each success, Ethan's confidence grew, and Lyra's respect for human adaptability deepened. Then came the moment that would test them more than any previous challenge. A massive battlecruiser appeared on the sensors, larger and more advanced than any they had faced. Its energy signature dwarfed their small ship, and it moved with precision, anticipating their maneuvers. Ethan's heart pounded. "That's big. How are we supposed to get past that?" Lyra's patterns flickered with intensity. "We do not confront it directly. We use diversion and intelligence. Follow my instructions exactly, and we can disable its engines temporarily." Ethan nodded, gripping the controls. "I trust you." The plan was daring. They would lure the cruiser toward a dense field of small asteroids, forcing it to maneuver and exposing its engine arrays. Ethan handled the ship's navigation with precision, while Lyra manipulated energy fields to guide the cruiser's sensors and energy pulses away from their position. As the cruiser approached the trap, Ethan held his breath. Every movement had to be perfect. Lyra's guidance was steady, precise, and unwavering. Slowly, the cruiser's engines were exposed, vulnerable to an energy disruption created by Lyra and amplified by Ethan's clever manipulation of the ship's systems. A sudden pulse radiated through the cruiser, temporarily disabling its propulsion. The massive ship drifted, unable to pursue them further. Ethan let out a long breath, his heart still racing. Lyra's glow softened, indicating calm satisfaction. "We have succeeded. Your actions were decisive and precise. You have learned well." Ethan smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. I couldn't have done it without you." You would have adapted," Lyra replied. "But together, we achieve more." That is the truth of cooperation. As the cruiser drifted, disabled, they slipped further into safety. The stars stretched around them, endless and quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just faced. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not just for surviving, but for learning, adapting, and growing alongside someone who challenged him to be better. In the quiet that followed, Ethan realized something profound. This journey, dangerous and uncertain, had transformed him. He was no longer just a simple engineer on a small station. He was a strategist, a problem solver, and a partner capable of extraordinary feats when combined with the right ally. And Lyra, too, was changed. She had observed human creativity, courage, and adaptability firsthand. She had seen that humans could not only survive, but innovate under pressure. Together, they were more than the sum of their parts, a testament to the power of collaboration between species. As they drifted through the safe corridor of space, Ethan looked at Lyra and smiled. You know, this war. It's teaching me more than I ever expected. Not just about survival, but about people. About humans. Lyra's amber eyes met his. And you are teaching me, Ethan. Humans are remarkable. They endure. They adapt. They inspire. Your ingenuity strengthens me, as much as my abilities strengthen you. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride, admiration, and something he could not yet name. Perhaps it was the beginning of a bond deeper than friendship, forged in the crucible of danger and tempered by trust. The Galactic War was far from over, and greater challenges awaited. But for now, Ethan and Lyra had survived, and they had done so together. And in that partnership, they found not only strength but hope, a hope that humans, no matter how small or ordinary they seemed, could face the universe's greatest threats and thrive. As the small ship sailed through the stars, carrying two unlikely allies across dangerous space, Ethan realized that the adventure was far from over. But with Lyra by his side, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing that together they could overcome anything. And somewhere deep in the quiet of space, he sensed that their bond was becoming something more than survival. It was trust, respect, and perhaps the first stirrings of a connection that neither human nor alien had fully understood. Yet, Ethan and Lyra drifted through the calm stretch of space beyond the nebula, but the sense of relief was brief. The enemy fleet, though temporarily stalled, was still a threat, and the intelligence they carried about the fleet's tactics was valuable. If it reached the intergalactic alliance, countless lives could be saved, but first, they had to deliver it. Ethan adjusted the ship's trajectory, his hands steady on the controls. We need to move fast. The fleet will recover soon, and they'll be looking for us. Lyra's amber eyes scanned the stars. We will not flee blindly. Strategy and precision will guide us. Together, we can reach the Alliance's command station safely. Ethan nodded. There was comfort in her confidence. But he knew this journey would test them more than any previous encounter. As they traveled, they encountered fields of floating debris and remnants of ancient colonies. Ethan suggested using the derelict ships as cover, hiding their energy signature from enemy scanners. Lyra agreed, enhancing their cloaking with subtle energy manipulations that only her species could manage. The combination worked perfectly, allowing them to pass unnoticed. During a quiet moment, Ethan glanced at Lyra. You know, this journey has changed me. I never thought I'd see humans and aliens working together like this. And surviving. Lyra's glow flickered gently. Change is inevitable when one faces challenges beyond imagination. You have adapted, Ethan. You have grown. Humans are capable of far more than they realize. And you exemplify that potential. Ethan felt a swell of pride. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a simple engineer on a small station. But the trials of the past days had revealed a strength he never knew he possessed. And he realized, with quiet awe, that it was not just his skill or courage, but the bond with Lyra that made him stronger. Suddenly, the ship's sensors blared. A massive enemy battle cruiser loomed ahead, far larger and more advanced than any ship they had previously encountered. Its energy readings dwarfed their own, and it moved with the calculated precision of a predator hunting its prey. Ethan's heart pounded. That's enormous. We can't outfight it. Lyra's luminous patterns pulsed with intensity. No, we cannot. But we do not need to fight. We must use intelligence, agility, and cooperation. Follow my guidance exactly. Ethan nodded, gripping the controls. I'm ready. The plan was daring. They would lure the cruiser toward a dense asteroid belt, forcing it to maneuver and exposing its engine arrays. Ethan would handle the ship's navigation with precision, while Lyra manipulated energy fields to disrupt the cruiser's targeting systems. Timing had to be perfect. One mistake could end their lives. As they approached the asteroid belt, the cruiser detected them and adjusted its trajectory. Ethan felt the familiar thrill of strategy and danger. He activated the ship's thrusters with precise bursts, weaving through massive rocks, while Lyra guided him with calm, steady instructions. Left 20 degrees. Now, upward 15, she said. Ethan obeyed, trusting her calculations implicitly. The cruiser followed, its massive bulk forcing it to dodge asteroids with slow, cumbersome movements. Lyra's energy manipulations created subtle illusions, making the cruiser misjudge distances and direction. Ethan's heart raced, but he focused on the rhythm of their combined effort. Almost there. Now, redirect energy to the pulse emitter, Lyra instructed. Ethan complied, channeling power through the ship's systems in a delicate balance. A bright surge of energy shot forward, striking the cruiser's engines and temporarily disabling its propulsion. Ethan exhaled in relief. The massive ship drifted, immobilized, unable to continue pursuit. Lyra's patterns glowed softly, signaling calm satisfaction. We have succeeded. Your actions were decisive. You have learned quickly and applied your ingenuity perfectly. Ethan smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. We did it. I couldn't have done it without you. You would have adapted, Lyra replied. But together, we achieve more. That is the strength of cooperation. With the cruiser disabled, Ethan and Lyra set course for the Alliance command station. The journey was still long, but the worst danger had passed. They navigated carefully through space, using abandoned colonies and asteroid fields as temporary cover, always staying alert for unexpected threats. During the quiet moments between maneuvers, they talked. Ethan shared stories of Earth, of cities and oceans, of inventions and culture. Lyra shared tales of the Zerethian system, of civilizations that had survived millennia, and the wisdom of her people. Each story deepened their understanding of one another, building trust and respect. Ethan realized that his admiration for Lyra had grown beyond gratitude. She was clever, brave, and wise in ways that inspired him. He had survived the Galactic War not just because of his skill, but because he had learned to trust her, to work alongside her, and to adapt as a team. Lyra, too, had changed. She had observed human resilience, creativity, and courage firsthand. She had seen that humans could not only survive but innovate, inspire, and lead. She valued Ethan not just as a partner, but as a symbol of human potential, a species capable of remarkable things when challenged. As they neared the Alliance station, an unexpected problem arose. A small fleet of enemy scouts appeared, fast and maneuverable. Ethan's first instinct was to panic, but Lyra's calm presence grounded him. We can evade them, she said. We must rely on agility, misdirection, and timing. Follow my lead. Ethan adjusted the controls, weaving through the void with precise bursts. Lyra manipulated energy fields to create false signatures, making the scouts chase phantoms instead of the real ship. Their teamwork was seamless. Each decision complemented the other's skill. After tense minutes, the scouts were confused and began retreating. Ethan let out a deep breath. That was too close. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, signaling relief. Close is temporary. Preparedness is permanent. You performed admirably. Finally, the Alliance station appeared on the sensors. Ethan guided the ship through the docking protocols, while Lyra enhanced communications, sending the crucial intelligence about the enemy fleet directly to the command center. The station's officers responded immediately, confirming that the information would be used to plan defensive strategies across the sector. Ethan slumped in his seat, exhausted. We did it. They'll be ready now. Countless lives will be saved. Lyra's patterns glowed warmly. Indeed. Your ingenuity, adaptability, and cooperation have contributed significantly. Humans are capable of remarkable achievements. You have proven this firsthand. Ethan felt a sense of pride and fulfillment unlike anything he had known. He had faced a fleet, navigated dangerous space, and survived impossible challenges all alongside an alien he had once thought he might not understand. And through it all, he had discovered something deeper: trust, respect, and a bond that went beyond mere survival. In the quiet moments afterward, as the ship was secured and the data transmitted, Ethan looked at Lyra. "You know, I never imagined I'd feel this way. About surviving. About humans. About you." Lyra's amber eyes met his, glowing softly. "And I did not anticipate these emotions either. Humans are extraordinary. Courage, creativity, and persistence are qualities I now understand deeply. You have inspired me, Ethan." For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to feel the full weight of their connection. It was more than partnership. It was admiration, trust, and the beginning of something neither of them could have predicted in the quiet days before the war. As they stepped onto the Alliance station, greeted by officers and scientists eager to receive their report, Ethan realized that this journey had changed him. He was no longer just an engineer on a quiet station. He was a survivor, a strategist, and a symbol of what humans could achieve when combined with ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. Lyra walked beside him, calm and radiant. Together, they had turned the threat of the Galactic War into an opportunity to demonstrate the strength of human potential and the power of interspecies collaboration. Later, when they found a quiet corner of the station to rest, Ethan looked at Lyra and smiled. "You know, whatever comes next, I'm glad it's with you." Lyra's patterns flickered softly, a gentle glow that conveyed warmth and understanding. "And I with you, Ethan. We are stronger. Together, we can face anything." Ethan realized then that the Galactic War, dangerous as it had been, had given him something unexpected. Not just survival, but a partner, a friend, and perhaps something even more profound. And in that moment, orbiting a distant planet in the safe corridors of space, he knew that humans, ordinary as they might seem, could rise to greatness. They could endure, adapt, and inspire even the most advanced species in the galaxy. And so, with Lyra by his side, Ethan felt ready for the future, whatever it might hold. They had survived, they had triumphed, and they had discovered that courage, ingenuity, and trust were the true weapons of humanity. Together, they would face the unknown, not with fear, but with confidence, creativity, and the knowledge that they were capable of extraordinary things. For Ethan and Lyra, the war had ended. But their journey was only beginning, and the bond forged in the crucible of danger would guide them through every challenge the galaxy could offer. And somewhere in the quiet of space, as stars shimmered endlessly, Ethan understood what it meant to be human, to endure, to adapt, to create, and to inspire. And Lyra understood it too, in her own way. Together, they were proof that humanity could not only survive the universe's trials, but thrive and shine in ways no one had expected.